My name is Sloan Whitaker, and I'm 26. Competence, in my world, isn't a personality trait. It's choreography. Timers hum while the dishwasher waits for off-peak. The thermostat brightens precisely when the sun slips, and every bill clicks to paid before anyone remembers it's due. Control isn't loud. It's a quiet grid humming beneath your feet, steady, boring, and unromantic, until the boat lurches. It lurched at 3:24 p.m. on a Tuesday. Jason's text lit my phone while I was in a spreadsheet. "Pack your stuff. I'm bringing someone home tonight. Don't make this awkward." I read it 3 times. Jason is 24 and allergic to punctuation and accountability. He doesn't do jokes like this. He doesn't do jokes, period. I typed back, "Already packed." Which was almost true. Here's the thing. I'd been planning to leave. Not because I'm impulsive, but because I've learned to pay attention to soft failures. A lie that arrives 2 minutes late, a promise that forgets to show up, a lock screen that flips over when I walk into the room. Over the last months, Jason had been coming home at 4 a.m. from the gym with no sweat and a new cologne, taking calls in the bathroom with the shower running, and treating my condo, the condo with my name on the deed and my name on the utilities, like a hotel that comped him for existing. He forgot one detail. This hotel bills the guest of record, not the +1. I stood in the doorway of my bedroom. I didn't pack my stuff. I packed his. Shirts he never ironed, the sneakers he swore were investments, his absurdly large gaming headset, the ring light he insisted he needed for work, though his work mostly involved streaming and blaming the algorithm. I pulled the saved moving boxes from the closet, labeled them with a black marker, bedroom, bathroom, living room, and stacked them by the door. Then I did what competence does best. I made a call. "Mr. Rodriguez, it's Sloan in 4B. "Sloan, everything okay?" Quick question. Hypothetically, if someone's been staying in a unit but isn't on the lease, they're a guest. Guests don't have tenant rights. Security issues? "No, just planning to make a clean handoff. He'll need to collect his things. Would you mind swinging by at 9 tomorrow? I want everything documented." "I'm doing maintenance checks at 9 anyway. I'll start with yours." Perfect. I photographed everything. Angles of the living room, the kitchen counters, the condition of walls and floors. Time-stamped. I left my keys, minus my spare, on the counter with a note that read, "As requested, I've packed and left. Your belongings are by the door. The lease is in my name only. Please be out by 9 a.m. tomorrow when the landlord arrives for inspection. Best of luck with your new situation." Then I changed my Wi-Fi password. Petty? Maybe. But if I'm paying, I choose who gets to stream. By 5, I was at my friend Tom's apartment. Tom has the kind of spare room that exists because of a breakup 2 leases ago and a personality that absorbs chaos like foam. He handed me a beer before I asked. "What happened?" he said. "He texted me to get out so he could bring someone home." Tom blinked. "His someone who?" I said it simply because truth doesn't need italics. His ex, Tessa. Tom leaned back, covering his mouth like laughter needed armor. "He's bringing his ex to your place?" "Correction, to my place." "What are you going to do?" "What I already did." I took a sip, packed his life into boxes. "Mr. Rodriguez comes at 9. Tom's smile tilted. "You're terrifying when you're calm." By 8 p.m., the first texts arrived. "Where are you? This isn't funny. Answer me. You can't just leave. We need to talk." I put my phone face down on Tom's coffee table and watched a movie I won't remember. At 11:03, the tone shifted. "You're being dramatic. I'm trying to be an adult about this. A real partner would have a conversation." At 12:51 a.m., a voicemail from an unknown number. I didn't need to press play to know who it was, but I did anyway. "Sloan, this is Tessa. I'm with Jason. He says you've, locked him out and packed his stuff? That's not okay. I don't want drama. Let's be mature." Her voice was lacquered nice, the kind that always reads as reasonable until you set it next to evidence. I saved the message and screenshotted everything. Jason pinged again. "Needles now. You can't touch my things. I'll call the cops. This is theft." I laughed. Then I opened my filing app where the lease lives. Sloan Whitaker. Sole tenant. I took a photo of the first page and filed it under tonight receipts. Tom was reading over my shoulder, biting back a grin. "You know he thinks he's the main character, right? He's about to find out he's not on the cast list." We slept. He on his couch, me in the spare room that still smelled faintly like his old girlfriend's shampoo. I woke before my alarm, nerves tapping quietly against my ribs. At 8:32 a.m., Jason found righteous panic. I don't know where you are, but this is insane. You can't do this. Tessa is uncomfortable. Be an adult, Sloan. Adults show up for the mortgage, I thought. At 9:07 a.m., my phone lit up with a block of texts so frantic the bubbles overlapped. The landlord is here. He says you're the only one on the lease. You set me up. Why didn't you tell me he was coming? This is harassment. Tessa left because she doesn't do scenes. I'm stuck here. Where am I supposed to go? A second later, Mr. Rodriguez called. I put him on speaker. Sloan, I'm in 4B. Your guest is insisting he lives here. He doesn't, I said. Lease is in my name. I've explained that. I've given him an hour to remove his belongings. The young woman with him just left. Tessa, I said, quiet. Yes, she looked uncomfortable and, how do the kids say, noped out. He cleared his throat. Do you want me to stay until the hour is up? Please. Jason's name pulsed again. A metronome of entitlement. You're going to regret this. I'll tell your job you threw me out. I'll make sure everyone knows who you really are. I closed my eyes and pictured my condo, my steady grid of payments and routines, like a boat drifting back to balance after someone jumped off. There's a sound for that, a softened slap as water finds itself again. I've learned to recognize it. It's the sound something makes when you stop asking it to be what it isn't. Tom poured coffee into a mug he knew I'd claim later. You okay? Yeah, I said, and surprised myself by meaning it. Because the thing about choreography is this. Once you know the steps, panic can't keep up. It stumbles, showy and loud, while you keep counting under your breath. 1 and 2. Pack. Photograph. Call. Passwords. Keys. Witness. The music of it is cold, maybe, but clean. My phone buzzed again. A final Hail Mary from Jason. We can fix this if you come back now. I didn't mean it like that. You made me feel cornered. I acted out. Please. Behind the apology, I heard the same old script. How my boundaries are a trap, and his choices are accidents. The words wanted to pretend none of the other words happened. I set the phone down, face down again. The screen kept lighting the wood like a fish trying to jump its bowl. At 9:31 a.m., Mr. Rodriguez texted a photo. The boxes by my door, now carted into the hallway. He captioned it, all set. He's leaving. Sometimes a rescue looks like nothing at all. No sirens, no catharsis, just a hallway, a stack of boxes with a name that isn't yours, and the quiet fact of your lease, solid as a signature. I took a breath I hadn't realized I was holding and let it out in one unceremonious, ordinary sigh. Okay, I said to no one. Okay. By the next morning, my silence had apparently grown louder than Jason's shouting. When control disappears, chaos always rushes in to fill the vacuum, and Jason was chaos in a hoodie. At 9:42 a.m., he sent me a text so long it broke into 6 separate bubbles. Apologies, accusations, half-baked logic loops. You embarrassed me. You blindsided me. You can't just erase 2 years like that. Tessa thinks I'm a joke now. I didn't answer. Silence is oxygen to people like him. The less you give, the louder they gasp. Then, at 10:15, came the voicemail from an older voice. Hi, Sloan. This is Diane, Jason's mom. Her tone was careful, like she was trying to navigate a minefield politely. Sweetheart, Jason's saying you kicked him out and threw all his things into the hall. That doesn't sound like you, but I wanted to hear your side before I assume. I scrolled, found the original text, pack your stuff, I'm bringing someone home tonight, and forwarded it to her without commentary. The pause between her first message and her next reply lasted 3 full minutes. Then, oh, honey, I'm so sorry. He told us you cheated. He lied to us. I don't even know what to say. You don't need to say anything, I typed. You're not the one who sent the text. I spent the rest of that day in Tom's spare room, wrapped in the kind of quiet that feels like recovery. No television, no music, just the hum of his refrigerator and the soft thud of my own pulse catching up with itself. At 2 p.m., my phone pinged again. This time it wasn't Jason. HR notification. Allegation under review. Anonymous complaint. Employee unstable, violent behavior toward domestic partner. Force man into homelessness. The timestamp was 1:47 p.m., less than an hour after Diane's apology. I stared at the screen, then opened my messages with Jason. The timeline spoke for itself. 3:24 p.m. Yesterday. His text. 3:25 p.m. My reply. Between those, the work log that proved I was still online during the incident. Receipts have gravity. They make lies collapse under their own weight. My boss, Cal, called 20 minutes later. "Hey, Sloan, I just got this weird complaint about you." Anonymous? Yeah, but not very smart. HR already checked the metadata. It came from a personal Gmail. Guess whose initials were in the recovery address? He let the silence stretch until it broke itself. "Just send me the screenshots. We're good here." When we hung up, I laughed. Not the kind of laugh you share, but the kind that shatters something brittle inside you so it can breathe again. By evening, Jason's campaign escalated. Venmo requests began to appear like a parody of legal action. Rent reimbursement, $2,100. Emotional damages, $500. Moving costs, $300. Each one tagged with comments. "You owe me for establishing residency. You can't evict someone you love. This is abuse." I forwarded them all to my friend Lena, who's a lawyer with a dark sense of humor. Her response, "Guests don't get tenants' rights. Keep them for evidence, but honestly, chef's kiss levels of stupidity." That night, Tom showed me something on his phone. "Have you seen Jason's Instagram story?" I hadn't. He scrolled to a post of Jason, tear-streaked and tragic in his car, captioned, "When you love someone who turns out to be a narcissist." Hashtags bloomed underneath. Domestic abuse. Starting over. I'm survivor. Comments poured in from people I didn't know. "She used you. Men can be victims too. You're brave for sharing." For a second, guilt flickered, the reflex of a woman raised to make things smoother. But then I noticed something. At the bottom of the thread, a comment from an account named @RealTessaYaf. "Wait, is this why Tessa was at your apartment at 1 a.m. last Tuesday? She told me she was at her brother's." The comment vanished within minutes, but the screenshot spread. Other users started asking questions. Then one of Jason's own friends replied, "Bro, didn't you move into her place?" The silence that followed was digital but satisfying. By Thursday, the narrative had flipped. Diane called again. "Sloan, I don't even know how to face you. Robert and I had no idea he was still seeing Tessa. He said she just came by for closure." "Closure doesn't usually arrive with an overnight bag," I said. She exhaled. "He's not staying with us anymore. We told him he has 30 days to find work and his own place. No more free rides." That night, Jason sent one last text. Short, simple, almost pitiful. "You win. I hope you're happy." Winning. That word always sounded wrong to me. This wasn't a game. It was a cleanup of a space, a story, a self. But life wasn't quite done throwing its ironic curveballs. Friday afternoon, Tom walked into the kitchen holding his phone again. "You might want to see this." It was another post. Jason's public apology? No, a crying selfie from Tessa this time. Caption, "When you think someone loves you, but they use you to hurt their ex." Starting over. Betrayed. Her followers began connecting dots Jason hadn't even thought to hide. Screenshots of their messages, timestamps that overlapped mine. By midnight, the whole triangle had collapsed like a bad tent in the rain. Tom poured 2 beers and raised one toward me. To digital karma. I clinked bottles with him, the gesture small but solid. "I don't think I ever wanted revenge," I said. "I just wanted peace." "Peace looks good on you," he said. My phone buzzed again. An unknown number. I let it ring out, then listened to the voicemail later. "Hey, this is Andrew, Tessa's boyfriend. Or ex, I guess. Just wanted to say, sorry. She told me you were some jealous landlord ex harassing her. Guess I learned the hard way. Take care of yourself." I deleted the message and finally turned my phone off for the first time in days. Outside Tom's apartment, the city kept pulsing. People falling in and out of each other's orbits. Texts flying like arrows. But inside, everything was quiet. Balanced. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to keep watch over my own life. Because I already had. A week passed before the next ripple reached me. Saturday morning, sunlight slid through Tom's kitchen blinds, striping the counter in quiet gold. I was halfway through my second coffee when my phone lit up with a name I hadn't expected to see again. Robert Whitaker, Jason's father. For a heartbeat, I considered letting it ring out. But curiosity wins where fear has long burned itself out. "Mr. Whitaker?" I answered. "Sloan," he said, voice rough with what sounded like exhaustion. "I wanted to apologize for my son." The pause that followed was weighted, almost physical. Diane showed me the texts. Everything. We're embarrassed. Furious, honestly. You supported him for months while he told us he was helping you. That ends now. I didn't know what to say. Gratitude felt too simple. Pity felt too kind. I appreciate the call, I said finally. I want you to know, he continued, we're not enabling this anymore. He's staying with us temporarily, but he's got 30 days to get a job and his own place. If he doesn't, he's out. He exhaled, a tired sound that made me picture him gripping the phone with both hands. We failed him somewhere, but I won't let him drag you any further down. Don't let this ruin how you see people, okay? Not everyone's like him. Thank you, I said softly. That means more than you think. After the call ended, I sat there for a while, tracing a drop of condensation around my coffee cup. The truth was, I didn't see Jason as some cautionary tale about men. I saw him as a mirror, one that reflected exactly what happens when someone mistakes comfort for love and entitlement for partnership. But the universe, it seemed, wasn't done sending him lessons. On Wednesday, Mr. Rodriguez texted me out of nowhere. You still interested in the unit, Sloan? I frowned. Interested? I'd moved back into my condo last weekend after cleaning and resetting everything. The smell of lemon oil had replaced the ghost of Jason's cologne, and for the first time, silence sounded like home. Of course, I replied. Why do you ask? Funny story. Your ex showed up yesterday with a rental application. Used you as a reference. I nearly dropped my phone. He what? Said he'd lived there 8 months. Claimed he was a co-tenant. When I reminded him whose name was on the lease, and that I witnessed him being escorted out, he accused me of discrimination and threatened to sue. I stared at the message, stunned, then typed back. You can't make this stuff up. Don't worry, Mr. Rodriguez wrote. He's banned from the property. Just thought you'd want to know in case he tries to contact you. I laughed quietly, half disbelief, half closure. The kind that doesn't roar, just exhales. 2 days later, a new message slipped into my Instagram DMs. A blank profile, no photo, no followers. The username, @truthhurts, always. You destroyed my life. I can't get an apartment anywhere because I have no rental history. This is your fault. I didn't answer. Some storms only end when you stop walking into the rain. Still, curiosity made me check his tagged photos. There he was, behind the counter of a downtown coffee shop, apron crooked, smile forced. I knew the owner through work. Without saying anything negative, I simply asked how business was. He laughed. You mean Jason? Lasted 3 days. Showed up late twice. Told a customer our coffee was beneath him. We let him go. By the end of the month, the story had already dissolved into the digital noise. Jason had stopped posting. Tessa vanished from social media. Even Diane's check-in texts became infrequent. Short updates, mostly practical. He's working part-time now. He's paying rent. He's learning. Sometimes consequences sound exactly like chores. As for me, things shifted in quieter ways. Cal, my boss, called me into his office one afternoon. You've been steady through all this chaos, he said. HR told me how you handled that false report. Grace under pressure, that's leadership. He offered me a promotion, project lead, higher pay, my own team. It wasn't just about work. It was about agency, integrity, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself. Tom celebrated with takeout and 2 cheap beers. To freedom, he said, clinking bottles. I smiled. 2 receipts. We laughed until the labels peeled from the glass. A few nights later, I walked back into my condo, my real home. The place was spotless again. No boxes, no ghosts, no traces of anyone else's chaos. Just soft lamplight, quiet air, and a sense of ownership that wasn't about property, but peace. I stood by the window, watching the city blink below. Somewhere out there, Jason was probably rehearsing another story. Maybe this time he'd tell it differently, maybe not. But that wasn't my responsibility anymore. My phone vibrated once more, a final echo from the past. It was the old thread, the one that started everything. The last message still sat there at the top, untouched. Pack your stuff. I'm bringing someone home tonight. I reread it one last time, then smiled. Because he was right, in a way. I did pack my stuff, just not the way he expected. I packed up every version of myself that tolerated less than I deserved. I packed my patience, my silence, my constant readiness to fix what someone else kept breaking. And then I left, keys on the counter, head held high. That text wasn't an ending, it was an invitation to start again, on my own terms. And that, I realized, was the best message he ever sent me.